I'm Alison Gardy, Director of International Relations at the 92nd Street Y, and I have the privilege of directing a fellowship program called the Ford Motor Company International Fellowship at the 92nd Street Y.
Okay. So we're here talking about MDGs. Does the fellowship tie in with any MDG in particular?
Absolutely. We feel that there are people in the trenches, mid-career professionals, who have achieved a wonderful level of success in work for the MDGs. What they need is training, and not only training, for example, that they might find within their countries, but training that we can in particular offer here in New York that could empower them to take the next steps and become the leaders of tomorrow in their countries. We feel also that there's a certain power in displacing people from their incredibly consuming, busy lives. They've all have their noses to the grindstone. We take them here. They live at the 92nd Street Y in our residence. They take classes at Columbia University at the Picker Center for Executive Education and the School of International and Public Affairs there. We take them to meet model nonprofits, business people, where appropriate government people, people from different sectors, because we encourage people to think creatively and leverage resources across sectors, and they do their own presentations as well. We take them to a public school in East Harlem, and we'll take them to the Open Society Institute. We really try to give them a broad sense of resources and community.
Okay, so some people talk about that it's unrealistic that all of the MDGs are going to be reached by 2015. Are there any that you feel you would agree with that, you know, we're doing well in some areas, but with these ones, much more needs to be done?
Great question. Yes, much more needs to be done. I think that in the NGO world, it's so important for people to take a leap of trust and take a leap of faith in each other. The wheel is being reinvented countless times by people with few resources. Partnerships, that's the key word. And if we don't find ways to magnify each other's strengths and recognize that organizations, that one, leaders do not exist for themselves or for their egos, they exist to serve their community. Their organization doesn't exist for itself to exist. Ideally, it would be rendered obsolete if we reached the MDGs. They exist to serve the community, and that should give people the agility to change and adapt and not fear partnerships. People fear partnerships, and this prevents us, I think, from reaching the MDGs on time or ever. People fear partnerships because they fear losing territory. And there's a much, I think, smarter and more agile way to see oneself as a leader, as an organization, serving the community. And that is to say, what do people need? And what can I do as an interlocutor, as a facilitator, to harness all the resources around me fearlessly to serve those people? So that's the kind of spirit that we try to foster within the fellowship.
Okay. So what can ordinary people do to help? I mean, a lot of fault has been laid on, you know, the leaders around the world. What if an individual now says, you know, I want to do my part to help? What are some of the stuff they can do themselves?
Help comes in so many forms. The fellows have taught me that the real power of this fellowship, in which each year we bring together about roughly 20 people from 6 to 8 different countries from all different continents, is that leaders suffer from a degree of burnout, even if they're high functioning. They have their nose to the grindstone. It's so hard to really stay in touch with the real vision and mission of an organization when you're consumed with daily tasks. And 3, that they often feel alone in the problems of their community, their management issues, and their own personal work-life balance. And so how can one help? Even a note of encouragement from which the fellows give each other. For example, you know, here in Afghanistan, I think what you're doing in Vietnam is amazing. I support you. Is so uplifting. So one, the power of words, the power of encouragement. If people were to visit the websites of our fellows, for example, and just let them know what they think, that goes a million miles of, you know, in terms of spurring one's energy. On another level, micro fundraising, which was discussed at this conference, I know discussed in June at an earlier conference, is a really interesting model for organizations like these. The power of a compelling story to motivate people to notice a community, notice a cause, is a real feat of our times and of modern technology. So I would ask people to keep an eye out for those possibilities. Our alumni are all listed on our website.
What is the name of the website?
www.92y.org/Ford, F-O-R-D, as in the car. And you can find a public directory there. Email addresses are taken off. Some people are doing sensitive work, but there's a general address for the fellowship, and I can always be reached, and I'm happy to link people up who are well-intentioned. I think also, as we try to reach, you asked about reaching the Millennium Development Goals, what do we need to do? I think and the fellows have really taught me this even more than I knew before. It's not enough to achieve those goals. The question is really, how do we get there, and who do we include in the process of getting there? If in the end we eradicate poverty, but the world remains divided in terms of the people who do the eradicating and the people who are passive recipients of those benefits, we've missed weaving the world together. And the engagement of communities, the full engagement, is so vital. So many of our Ford Fellows work on making sure that communities and small villages and their leadership are included in big decisions regarding sustainable development or healthcare, youth education, girls' rights, conflict resolution, all of these issues that our fellows work on. And that inclusivity is everything. We have fellows, for example, who work with disabled children, disabled adults. None of the MDGs focus in particular on people with disabilities because they're focused on life and death survival issues. That's totally understandable. But in our progress towards achieving the MDGs, we have to make sure that everyone feels that they are a fellow victor in getting there. And that means someone who's wheelchair bound, someone who's starving. Everyone has to be a protagonist in this process and not just a recipient of benefits. I think that's really, really important.
Definitely.